Hi everyone and welcome to Creative Cakes by Sharon. Today I'm going to be creating this very cute Hello Kitty cake, and I'm really happy to let you know that I've teamed up with my friend Andrea from Pink Cake Princess, and she's made this adorable little Hello Kitty cupcake. Andrea's going to show you step by step how to make these gorgeous cupcakes, and you can click on the link at the end of my video or from the description box below. So today I've got my Hello Kitty template, and you can get a copy of this in the description box below. I've got a 10-inch round cake, I've got my fondant roller, a pair of scissors, a sharp knife, my offset spatula, my X-Acto blade, I've got a cake smoother here, and the fondant colours I'm using today are black, white, red, a little bit of green, yellow and pink. I'm also going to be using some red, green, yellow and white sanding sugar. I've got a little bit of water and a paintbrush, got some buttercream frosting, some white chocolate ganache, as well as my board. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is fill the centre of my cake with the buttercream frosting and pop the top of the cake back on. And here I've got my template of Hello Kitty sitting on top of the cake, and before I cut around the template I'm just going to fold the whiskers up so they don't get cut off. And with my knife vertically, I'm going to put it into the cake and carefully cut all around the template. When I get to the top, I'm just going to fold down her flower and keep cutting along the top of her head, and then remove the excess cake. Now I've got my white chocolate ganache, which I'm going to use to cover the entire surface of the cake, the top and the sides, as well as getting into all the little edges nicely. Once I've got a good covering, I'm going to pop it in the fridge for about 15 minutes to set. Once I remove the cake from the fridge, I'm going to smooth the surface of the ganache, so dipping my offset spatula in some boiling water and wiping off the excess water, I'm going to slowly smooth it over the entire surface of the cake. Now it's time to cover the entire cake. So I've got my white fondant here, and I'm going to roll it out to about 3 millimeters thick, and then carefully rolling the fondant onto my roller, I'm going to drape the fondant over the top of the cake. I'm going to use my cake smoother to smooth over the top surface of the cake, and then gently opening up the fondant on the edges and smoothing down the sides. In between Unikitty's legs, I'm careful not to press the fondant too hard. It's more a case of slowly stretching it until it fits into the grooves. Then I'm simply going to trim off the excess and use my cake smoother to give it a final smooth on the edges. Now I've got the flowers which I'm going to create, and you can see I've cut them out of the template. For the yellow and the white flower, I've cut into the flower just as it's shown on the template, so that when I go to assemble them at the end they fit together nicely. So I'm just going to roll out my red fondant to about 3 millimeters thick and trace around each of the red flowers. Now before I put away my red fondant, I'm just going to create the little red bud for the yellow flower and just measure it up against the template to make sure it's the correct size. Now I'm going to follow the same procedure for the yellow flower, and again before I put away the yellow fondant I'm going to create the buds for both of the red flowers as well as the white flower, and I'm also going to create a little oval for Hello Kitty's nose. Finally, I'm just going to cut out the white flower, and then to make the leaves I'm just going to roll and form them in my hand. So just rolling a little ball and then squeezing the ends into a little leaf shape. Now I'm going to add some sanding sugar to my flowers, but before I do that I'm just going to pop on top my little yellow centre of my flower, and with my paintbrush I'm just going to dab on a little bit of water. Now I need to be careful to only get the water where I want the sanding sugar to stick to. If I get the sanding sugar on the very edge where I'm going to put my black rolled fondant, it's not going to adhere very well. So I've just wet the flour in the areas where I want the sanding sugar to stick, and I'm just going to remove the little yellow centre and sprinkle on a nice covering of the red sanding sugar. Once I shake off all the excess, you can see that it has only stuck to the areas that I had wet the flour. Now I'm going to repeat this same process for my other red flower as well as the yellow and white ones, and then I'm going to do the same thing for the centre buds of the flowers as well as the leaves. Now before I start adding my decorations to the cake, I'm going to carefully transfer it onto my board. And here I have my cake with my template on top, and I've cut out the flower sections, and I'm going to use it as a guide so I know exactly where to position my flowers. So I'm first going to add the larger flower at the top of Hello Kitty's head, and then for the bouquet that she's holding, I'm going to use my template as a guide to get the correct orientation of each flower. Now I'm going to use my light pink fondant to create her little pants and stick that onto the cake. It's now time to create the border with the black fondant, so I'm going to roll it out to about a 3mm thick snake, and I'm going to need a few of these, as well as some slightly narrower snakes, which I'm going to use to go around the flowers and around her nose. And once I've got my strips of fondant ready, I'm going to carefully adhere them to the cake, following the template as a guide to create the outside border of her head. Then using a little bit of black fondant, I'm going to create 2 ovals for her eyes, and with the template on top of the cake, I'm going to mark the cake with my X-Acto blade so I know where to position the eyes and the nose, and then adhere them to the cake as well. Now I'm going to create the outside border for her hands and her feet, just in the same way as I did for her head. And now using a piece of the narrower fondant, I'm going to create an outline for her nose. And then moving on to the flower in her hair, I'm going to create the border, and I'm going to do it 1 petal at a time. You could do this in one continuous long strip of black fondant, but I find 1 petal at a time gives a much sharper result. And then I'm going to follow the same procedure for each of the flowers in the bouquet, starting off with the red flower and then finally finishing off with each of the leaves. And last but not least, I've rolled out 3 little whiskers about 1 inch in length each, and I've let them dry for about 3 minutes before adhering them to the cake so that they're stiffened up a little bit. And here she is, my Hello Kitty cake. Guys, if you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to give it a like and share it with your friends. I love to get your feedback, so leave me a comment in the section below. Guys, don't forget to head over to Pink Cake Princess and check out Andrea's Hello Kitty cupcake tutorial. The link to her channel and her tutorial are on screen now. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more creative cake tutorials, and as always, thanks for watching.